everybody, it's Lon.TV, and I wanted to get something off my chest about crowdfunding and Kickstarter after a recent event that happened where I lost about 230 something bucks, but my grand total of losses from crowdfunding campaigns has been growing substantially. I think I'm over $1,000 now. Now I want to say too that I contribute to way more Kickstarter campaigns than the average consumer does, primarily because I run a YouTube channel, and there's often a great reward for me in finding a new product that no one's ever heard about and reviewing it here on the channel. So it makes taking those financial risks to buy products that are completely untested and unreliable in some cases, because sometimes you find a real gem, and I have found a few over the years. The best one in particular was that paper airplane kit that you could control with your smartphone. Really cool stuff that sometimes really turns into great marketable products. But sometimes things don't go very well at all, and one recent project that I backed called the Zeno drone is a great example of that. They raised $3.4 million on Kickstarter, promising a product, a little drone that had some autonomy to it so it could avoid obstacles and basically do some really cool things that at the time they introduced this about a year and a half ago or so, nothing really on the market had been introduced to do what they were promising. So I met the guy at CES, the guy that was creating this project. There wasn't anything functional flying at CES, which should have been a warning flag for many of us, but nevertheless they kind of trudged on and were reporting their progress and showing some videos of things over the course of their manufacturing process. And then the communication just kind of died out and everyone started freaking out. All the backers who had put up all of this money, most of us put up at least about $230 US or so to contribute towards this. They promised better communication. They got better with communication for a while, and then kaboom, they said, sent out a letter basically stating that they're going into liquidation and have a nice day, and that was it. They're located in Great Britain. I'm here in the United States, so my ability to actually get my money back from them is very limited. I was really kind of ticked off over Kickstarter's response to this because they're the ones that promoted this product on their platform. They were the ones that actually made this an editor's choice and really tried to steer people in towards contributing to this product. In some ways, that editor's choice is kind of an endorsement that's saying like, hey, we vetted these guys, we think they're good, go ahead and give them some money because this could be a cool product. And the end result, of course, was everybody being out their money and a letter of liquidation and really no recourse. Now, what Kickstarter said is that in response to this is that they're going to hire a reporter. Big deal, like to find out what happened with this project. Who cares? The fact is it fell apart like many companies do, and they ran off with everyone's money. However, Kickstarter is keeping their share of this $3.4 million because they collect 5% of every campaign that's successfully funded on their platform. So in this case, it's about $170,000 that they pocketed. And when I asked for a refund of at least that amount, I think it's about 12 bucks, give or take for me, they refused to give me a refund saying, hey, we're not a store, this is the way it works. So what happens when you go to your credit card company to dispute the charges? Well, you'll get a nasty gram from Kickstarter Integrity, like this one. This was from a user on the Facebook Zeno drone group who was able to successfully get a chargeback processed. And what they told him was that pledging to a project is helping to bring a creative idea closer to life, not buying a product that already exists, and that they expect chargebacks to be reserved solely for transactions that are genuine credit card fraud, which they say does not appear to be in dispute in this case. And again, they're doubling down on this notion that they are not a store. So meanwhile, they're not going to take any responsibility for what they profited from during the Zeno drone campaign, nor are they going to be very happy with you for going and exercising your rights as a consumer to get money back from through the credit card transaction for something that you paid for and didn't receive. But they're also going to send you a nasty gram and admonish you for doing it, which is really no way to treat people that they kind of depend on to grow their vision for product development. And I think that comes back to the risk argument here. And I think that's something that anyone looking at doing a crowdfunding campaign should think about. So what I like to look for are campaigns where the company sponsoring it is very clear about where the money that you're contributing is going towards. So if you are assuming most of the risk as a backer, I would avoid that project like the plague, because clearly they are really not putting any of their own skin into the game and really relying on all the pre-orders to fund their entire operation. And that's not enough to build a profitable company. You can't rely on just the orders. You need some money up front to do all the tooling and all the development and making sure that your prototype can actually be manufactured. In many cases, they have a prototype made long before they even thought about how to get it manufactured. So what I like to look for are companies that are established, number one. Number two, are clear about where their money is coming from, whether they have investment backing or they have put up their own risk. And then 3, that they actually say how your money is going to be used in that campaign. If they're not making that clear in the campaign, then ask them that question. And if they're unwilling to answer that question or just don't respond at all, then I would just wait until they get the product funded, and then you can buy it on Amazon like a regular consumer would, because if you're not willing to assume some of that risk, then you really need to be careful about what you put into one of these things, because it could go the way of the Zeno. These are things you really should be looking for if you're very concerned about losing your shirt or maybe a couple of bucks through the Kickstarter process. But I do think Kickstarter needs to be doing better by their backer community, the people that actually put up the money to not only fund their company, but the companies that they are essentially promoting on their platform, especially in the case of the Zeno drone, which they made an editor's choice. What they need to do is, at a minimum, if one of these things fails, at least give us back their share of the money. Why should they profit from it when we get nothing out of the deal? So that's number 1. Number 2, I'm really confused as to why they thought hiring a reporter is what us backers wanted. I certainly would rather get my money back, or at least a portion of it, than having a contract journalist try to go out and find out what happened to this company. I think it just fell apart. I think they had a vision that they just could not implement, and they made decisions that cost money, and they ended up in the place that they ended up. And I don't think there's a reporter that needs to go out and try to find out what happened here. I'd much rather see Kickstarter going after this company and trying to recoup some of our money, as opposed to just creating some feel-good story employing a journalist, which is really I just don't think it's appropriate. And also, is that journalist even going to look critically at Kickstarter's role in this and how they spent our money in this process too, even hiring him? I'd like to see some transparency on that as well. So yeah, I'm a little upset about this, because I think business in the 21st century is about building good consumer relationships, and the companies that do the best on Kickstarter are often the ones that get criticized the most for being there in the first place. So the Pebble watch is a great example. A company that had investment backing, had the ability to deliver a very good product, and chose Kickstarter as the avenue to do that because they knew they could get attract customers that way. It worked out very well for them, and they did it a couple of times actually. And I've been very fond of the Pebble watch. I don't wear it every day, but I think they've delivered a product as promised on time, and I think that was a really good example of that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think if these platforms want to grow, they need to treat the people who put the money into those platforms much better than they are doing now. So just keep all those things in mind as you're looking around at crowdfunding stuff out there. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and I know people are going to tell me that I assumed the risk going into this, and I definitely did, but there's only so many people in this world willing to do that kind of risk, and I think a lot of people are coming in with very different assumptions about how all this should work, and I think they need to start acting more like a store and less like a benevolent whatever they are. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. This channel is brought to you by the generosity of my Patreon supporters. If you find the channel helpful, you too can contribute for as little as $1 a month. Visit Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more.